Hello. So I am feeling really in need of some art today. So just been running around, changing my water, sorting the dogs out so they're going upstairs with my kids for just half an hour. They're having some time to do a little bit of gaming, which they don't normally do. Normally we'd go straight into doing our academic work. But today we need something a little bit different. I need something a little bit different as well. So I've grabbed my candle that I have next to my art space, and I am going to light that one. And this one's kind of, I tend to light them with a bit of an intention, you know, the thought of caring and healing or whatever people kind of need when I'm popping this one. It's kind of a looking after ourselves, looking out for each other, being compassionate and tolerant. It's hard when people are maybe having to spend a lot more time in a small space together than they're used to and not being able to go off on their own. It's also hard if you're someone who really loves to be outdoors all of the time and out doing things and classes and things, and you're kind of super social. So I'm lighting this really thinking about that and just sending out some nice, positive, calming vibes, but also for me. And one of my practices, I just like to watch the flame and just breathe with it. Just 3 nice deep breaths. And then put my feet flat on the floor and just wiggle my toes. Kind of breathe in. It's like breathing in through your feet. It's like, I imagine, sucking in through my feet. It's a bit weird, but it works for me. And then breathing out. In. And out. And then I know there are places I hold tension, so I tend to relax those first. So kind of where I'm, the base of my spine and my back, my shoulders, I especially hold some tension. So I'm just going to take some breaths in and just kind of just relax them as much as I can, let them drop. And so I did 3 of those, and my mind is super busy, so in my head I am saying breathe in and stretching it out and breathe out. And if that wasn't working for me, I'd be kind of breathing in and then counting to give myself something that I want to be thinking about right now to help me focus on my breath. Then my neck, I think everybody can hold a lot of tension in your neck. And your jaw, you can kind of clench it so your teeth are together, and that tongue on the roof of your mouth. All of those things I tend to try and relax. I'm just going to do my neck because I can feel it in my neck today quite a lot. And really it's on that out breath that I'm really kind of just relaxing it. And then I'm just going to kind of, I think they call it a body scan. I'm just going to kind of mentally look through my body from my head to my toes or my toes to my head and check, is there anywhere where I'm holding or feeling any kind of tightness or tension? And if there is, I'm going to do 3 deep breaths, kind of focus on that place. If I can, I might put my hand there and breathe in and out through my hand, or just imagine that I'm breathing in and out through that part of my body and trying to relax it. If you're finding that you're still feeling tension there, some people find that kind of deliberately tensing and then releasing, and tensing and releasing can help to get the feeling of the relaxation, the releasing part of it. But for me, I've done most of the things now and I've concentrated on my breath and I'm feeling a little bit more centered and grounded. One of the things that I also like to do, and I've done for a long time as a practice for this idea of grounding, is I do kind of a visualization where I imagine roots going out through my feet or through the base of my seat where I'm sitting in the chair, kind of where your coccyx is, and those roots going down kind of through the rocks and the soil of the earth all the way down to the centre where they kind of wrap around this lovely ball of orange energy that I imagine. And then once I've done that, I kind of breathe in, and as I breathe in, that orange energy comes up the roots and into me, and then as I breathe out, I just imagine kind of a white light coming out from me and into everything else. And I do that for a few breaths and a few cycles. So if you feel like you need to, you could certainly do that now and just pause. Now I'm going to pop this candle somewhere safe. I've got another candle that I actually want to light today, and this is my candle for a group called Moonshine. I love this candle, it is so pretty. I'm not sure if you're going to see it well enough, but you can see it looks very ordinary right now. But what happens when you light it is, I don't know if you can see that well enough. I'll just turn the lights off for a second and you might see it a bit better. And you see you get the moon behind the bird, and then the little stars. There are gaps in the glaze, so you get to see the moon and the birds. And as the group is called Moonshine, this seems like the perfect holder and candle for it. So I'm just lighting that one as well, and I'm going to pop that nice and safe. So when I feel like this and I feel kind of I want to art but I just don't know what to do, there are a few things that I do. I've been doing lots and lots of my art on little cards lately, so I have this box and it is fairly full now of them, and so I might get these out and kind of go through and pick some inspiration from here. This is a lovely exercise, I really love doing that. You can see my, oh they're upside down, my chicken obsession. Cards that I've done, and I might keep out ones that I think, yeah, I could get into that. I don't want anything too complicated today, that's too many layers or is too kind of too detailed. I want something that I can do that's with paint, that I could get engaged with and do, but without it being too complicated. So I'm having a little mooch through some of these now, and grabbing idea cards basically. Some of them are ones that I've done quite recently and I don't want to repeat them, but they would work as an exercise. I love spirals, so they're always on my think about doing these list. These are all, well, pretty much all of them are from Mindful Watercolour monthly classes, where I've shown all kinds of different techniques that we do. That's a maybe. I do love doing those circles, though that might be a possibility. See, I could make backgrounds like that and make a few of them for me to draw on later when I feel like it. But I'm not feeling that. I just go through them and I grab out. They're all Christmassy in my head, so I don't really want to do those now. Although I do love those little birds, I could maybe adapt that. And then I stick those in a little kind of heap, and I have a look through them and go, maybe, could do. Yeah, not feeling that one. I pop it back. I like that one, but I'm not so. No, that might be too. This is a definite possibility, and this maybe. So I'm thinking that I might like that one, and I like that one, and this one at the moment. They feel simple but interesting, and like I could get into those. So I'm going to keep those three out and pop the others back in the box. Now, if you don't have a box of things, there are heaps and heaps of photos in the Mindful Watercolour group, and if you click on photos on the left hand side, you will be able to just literally use those as your inspiration, just look through them. If you're not a member of the Mindful Watercolours group on Facebook, come and join us if you're on Facebook. It's a lovely supportive place, and there are people in there who are showing us their lovely art, who are chatting, and it's a nice arty place to be. But if Facebook isn't your thing, then you could certainly go onto Pinterest and you could look for something like patterns or watercolour patterns or something like that. So I've got these. The next thing is that I'm going to find somewhere to paint them. I don't want to do another card particularly. I could, but I don't, because I went through a drawer the other day and I found lots and lots of mindful watercolours that I had done from journaling and from creating classes and practicing for classes when I was working a little bit bigger than I am now. And so when I went through it, I noticed there was some that had white pages, and I thought, okay, well, I'll try and finish those up so that then I can actually stitch it together into a book. So I'm just going through looking on both sides to look for where the white spaces are. That looks white, but it's got drawings on, so that one's not. I could come and fill some more of those squares in as well. There's one, so I'll pop that one. Oh no, that's actually got some fishy shapes on, but I could rub those out, so I might use that. If you don't have odd bits like me and you don't need to look through this, then you could do it on a journal, you could do it on a card, there's another one, you could do it as a card and post it to someone. You know, we've probably got people that we aren't seeing at the moment, and we can be in touch with them on Facebook and all that kind of stuff, but it's still fairly safe for us anyway to go out for a walk. You know, we all need to exercise and think about moving ourselves, and as long as we're not going around places where there are lots of people or being, you know, really close to people, then it's still okay to go outside, and I can walk to a post box. So you could do that. You could even do it, then scan it in and send it as an email card. I'm pretty sure there are things where we could do that. So if you can hear my dogs barking, I'm really sorry. They like to be downstairs with me, and they're currently upstairs with my kiddos because it is post time and we've got neighbours who are having things done, so there are vans coming and going, and people walking up and down, and they will just bark and bark at them. So I think I'm going to do it on here, and I think I'm going to do, I want to start with this, the idea of just some lines, different thicknesses, different colours. And one of the things I can see that I've done is I've taped off around the edges. Now I have got, I think this is Scotch Magic tape, and this is quite good. If you've got tape and it's too sticky, and this is quite sticky, so I'll probably do it with this, you cut your length of, oh gosh, that is super hairy, you can tell there are dogs in this house. You cut your length, I'm not sure if this, yeah, this stuffed hairs, and then you take this and you basically, you put it down on a surface that is going to take some of the sticky away. I'm going to use my top, so just taking it on top a couple of times to lose some of the sticky. You don't have to do that, but you can. Now I'm going to start again with that one because there's so many dog heads on it, it's horrible. But if you need to make it less sticky, now I know with this tape it's actually okay to put it straight on, especially if I use my heat gun to heat it up a little bit before I remove it. So I'm matching it up to the edge. You could do it halfway over if you wanted to. If you've not got like thick watercolour paper like I've got for my journal pages, which is like £140 or 300 GSM, then at this point you can actually tape it to either the desk where you work in, to a tray, a chopping board, a kid's whiteboard from school, anything like that, and you can tape it, and you tape it half on and half off like this, so it would then stick to the tray, and it helps it to not wrinkle and buckle so much when it gets wet, and you just leave it taped until it's completely dry. I've done that one a bit squiffy, I think. Let's see if I can sort that out. Leave this end up. That's better. I've got a wrinkle. I am a bit pernickety about the edging, I will be honest. I like it to be level if it's meant to be level. So I don't do too many really level things. There you go. That's better. And so you do all four edges like that. If you don't have tape, you can do this without doing that and just go all the way to the edge of your paper. But you can use masking tape, you can use washi tape. If you used ordinary sellotape, you could use it and leave it on and never take it off. But don't try and take ordinary sellotape off because it will just tear your paper, even if you make it less sticky. But masking tape, washi tape, this kind of scotch tape that's kind of meant to be removable, all of those work really, really well. You could also use something like a white crayon to draw a white border around, or you could leave it, like I said, go all the way up to the edge, or put a border in afterwards of some sort. So I've got this ready. I've got my kind of inspiration and thinking about what I'm doing. Now I need to think about getting a colour palette for that. I don't really want to get anything on this, so I'm going to grab just a piece of paper, pop it on the top there. I'm going to lift that little bit of sellotape up because that will help to hold it in place for me. And do the same down here. I can pop my palette on there. It also means I've got a little space here if I want to try colours, which is fun. And then I am going to probably just use, or start off with anyway, this, it's a massive round. It's a number 8. I'd say start with a 6 or a 4 if you got it. I haven't got a smaller round than that at the moment. And then I'm going to grab a couple of spotters. So I've got a number 3 spotter. I've got a number 1 spotter. I'm going to have a little reach over here and see if I can see my number 5 spotter, because that's the one I really want. Typically I can't find it, so that's fine. I'll grab a 0 spotter as well. And then I've got an old brush for lifting up some colour. So I'm knowing that I want to feel calm, so I'm thinking what kind of colours do I associate with calm, and instantly blue and green come to mind. So that is the area of my palette I'm going to move to. And I'm literally, if you haven't seen my palette before, it's this massive thing. You don't need this many colours. I did lots of comparing for myself to see which brands I like, and discovered I like most watercolours. There's very few that I go, oh no, I don't really like those. But I'm starting to get favourite colours in different brands, and so it's gradually becoming less. But at the moment I've got a lot of colours that I'm going to use up. So I'm going to head to blues, and this blue, and I don't know what it is, but I'm loving this blue at the moment. It looks like something like a phthalo blue, or it's like I think there's a green shade and a red shade, and I think it's that kind of a blue. If you're not sure about doing this kind of mixing up the watercolours, then I've got some videos on YouTube as a playlist which are like an introduction to mindful watercolours, and it talks you through all of this and shows you how much water you can use, how much pigment, how much paint, how to get the paint if you've got tubes rather than pans, and all kinds of things like that. So maybe check that out. I'm just washing my brush off and I pick a different one. I'm going for that, which oddly looks a very similar shade, doesn't it? I think I like this kind of blue quite a lot. Get some of that in. That's a Sennelier one, I think, because it feels softer, and often theirs feels softer when I'm picking up. I think it's because they use honey in them. So I need a different kind of blue. What's that one? That looks nice. It looks kind of deep, and oh yeah, that's beautiful. I like that. Again, you can see that I think they're probably transparent, most of the blues that I'm liking. I tend to like quite transparent paints. I also love kind of turquoisey kind of blues, so I'm just going to have a little bit of a mooch here, because there's I like that. I really like this colour. I think I don't know if it's got some of my pans have their names on them, some of them just have like identifying numbers so that I can look them up in my swatches. Oh, there's somebody at the door. Hang on just 1 second. And I return. So where were we? Yes, I was picking up some of this colour and trying to figure out what it was. If I can get it out. Right, it's a Winsor & Newton, and it's phthalo turquoise, and I really love it. It's a beautiful colour. One of my favourites at the moment. If we're going to stockpile a paint, this would be my list. And if we're going to learn how to make a paint colour, this would definitely be on my list. quite fascinated by the idea of making your own watercolour paints, but just haven't had the time to really find out about it now. This colour that I'm popping in now is more opaque. You can kind of see as it goes down, it kind of feels a bit chalkier to me. And can you see how it kind of looks, I don't know, less see-through? I don't know if you can see that from there, but this one's a much more opaque colour, but still lovely. And then green-wise, there are a couple of greens in my palette that I just absolutely adore. I love kind of anything that's like a green gold. This one is a May Mary blue green gold. Look how gorgeous it looks. Just already, these colours are beautiful to me. And actually the act of talking to you guys, even though you're not actually there yet, and putting the paint in my palette and taking my brush round and round and having to think about that, thinking about which colours, is getting my brain to start to settle, and I can feel a difference now. So whenever I start painting, there's always the intention to be present with what I'm doing, and that is something that is really helping me at the moment. So in terms of the mindful part of the watercolours, we're thinking about being really present with ourselves and what we're doing, and obviously our brains are probably going to have lots of thoughts in them, and that's okay. We don't need to beat ourselves up, just kind of acknowledge the thought and go, yeah, but right now I'm painting and I'm going to do that, so I'll come back to that thought another time in a little while. And you just kind of be gentle with yourself and release it and let it go. This is a really bright colour. It's a really bright green. I've got a couple in my palette and I've gone for this one. Normally I would go for May Green, which is this one is Daniel Smith, and it's phthalo yellow green shade, or phthalo green yellow. I think it's phthalo green yellow or yellow green. It's really, really vivid. So I'm kind of set up with my paints, and I've done a bit of breathing at the start because I really needed to kind of just settle a little bit. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my feet flat on the floor, and I'm just going to remind myself that for the next 20 minutes, maybe 10, however long it takes me to do this, but it won't be more than 20 today, I am going to really focus on what I'm doing. And I'm going to remind myself that if my brain wanders, that's okay. I'm just going to bring it back to what I'm doing. And then if I need to, there are little tricks that I can use. And one of them is I talk myself through what I am doing in my head. So as I'm teaching you and saying that to you, if I were doing this and I wasn't creating a video and I was feeling that my brain was just kept going to other thoughts and was finding it hard to stay present, I wouldn't beat myself up, I wouldn't be judgmental, I wouldn't think my brain was stupid. I would understand that it had got a lot of thoughts, and that is understandable and fine. But one of the things I can do is if I describe in my head what I'm doing and talk it through in my head, there's not much room for other thoughts. And if that's not working, I literally have sat here and talked out loud what I'm doing, even when I'm not making a video, as if I was teaching somebody or showing someone or explaining to someone. Okay, that means there's no room in my head for lots of other thoughts, because I'm painting and I'm talking about my painting, and it helps me to stay in the moment of painting. But if I'm finding that really hard, then that is okay. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm letting go of all those judgments, and I am just kind of being discerning and going, I want to try and concentrate more on the painting and be present and focused with that. So I'm just going to try, and that is enough. Another thing that I do that I can't do when I'm making a video for you is I will stick music on. I'll often put it on headphones as well, so that I can have it quite loud, so that I can listen and I can sing. That's another thing that can help me when my mind's really busy. And another thing I do is I will stick some kind of Netflix or TV or something on that's got lots of episodes, and I'll have that on in the background. And sometimes actually that background noise of having something else quiets that voice that is quite distracted for me. So you could try any of those things. You may have your own ideas. If you do, please do come to the group and share them with us. So I'm going to start off, and I'm thinking about lines, and I'm kind of looking at my big brush and going, I'm really feeling like that's too big. So I'm grabbing out my brush pot, and I'm going to have a little fertile. Now I do have a smaller brush, there's this one, but it's quite soft. There's the one I was looking for. So there we go, I have grabbed those out. So I've got, this bigger one is a number 5 spotter, but it's just, I'm using it not because it's a spotter, but more because it's just got a smaller bristle base. And this one is a number 4 round. It's very, very soft, and it's lovely, and it feels lovely, and it looks beautiful, so I might use that. So I'm going to pop those up and out of the way so I can just grab them from there. The other thing that I sometimes need is the tissue. Now, tissues are in low supply in our household, so I've got a bit of sponge that's normally used for lifting that I can use, so I'm going to have that just in case I need it. I've got a tea towel, this little bit of red you can see here. I've got a tea towel that's underneath my water pot, so that when I need to take excess water off, so say I've got there's my brush in the water and it's really, really drippy, so I might touch it to the tea towel just to take the excess water off. I do the same with paint, then I wash the tea towel in the washer and I just bring it back and use the same tea towel again. So that's, if you don't have tissues, a tea towel works beautifully, or any piece of absorbent fabric would work beautifully. So that was my picking up colour brush. I'm going to leave that there. It's great as well because I can leave them then, they don't make my desk wet. I'm going to go for this number 3, and I'm looking to put in some thick and thin lines. I'm just going to swap my glasses over because I've got my ordinary pair on, and I probably am going to need these ones that help me to see. So I've wet my brush, I'm taking the excess off on that tea towel, and then I'm going to pick up some of my first blue. And let's see how big this line is. I want this first one to go over the tape so that I've got a nice line that's there. I'm actually going to make that a little bit thicker. They don't have to be perfectly straight. And wash it off. And I pick up a different colour, taking the excess off, and I'm going to try and just use the tip of my brush but hold my brush near the top. And one of the things you can do is you can put your other hand underneath your wrist here to help support the weight if you need to. I often do that, like now my elbow's lifted up, so sometimes that can be helpful. Wiggly is good. Drying it off again, and I'm going to get one of my greens and just pop that in, something a little bit thicker. I'm going to go back and I'm going to grab a blue, and then I'm going to just put that there and pick up another blue, and I want to make a really thick band of that one. Just really thicken it up a little bit and drop some paint in while it's still wet, just to help it be an interesting little layer. Drying it off, and I pick up some of this one, and I'm just going to keep repeating this process. There's some thin lines and changing the colour each time. I'm not worrying too much about washing my brush because I don't mind if I get slightly different colours as they mix. I'm seeing how close I can get them. That was quite dark, so I'm going to wash my brush off for that. I haven't used this bright green yet, so I'm interested to see how that's going to work in amongst it. Ooh, quite fun. And then just back in. Just no real plan to it, just as I feel like it, and every now and again doing a thicker line in there as well. And this is all with the same brush. Yeah, I'm not changing my brush, and just that feeling of stroking it along the paper makes a really lovely sound. Listen, I think my camera will pick it up for you. I like that sound. And so we continue. Quite fancy a little thin line of this. How thin can I make it? So now I'm not getting super thin lines with this brush, but I'm getting some fairly thin ones. I'll go back and do one of those. I'm going to do a thicker one of that green, I think. Go back there to get rid of that white space. And then this is definitely one you can do with kids, adults, any paints you can do this with. You know, if you've got acrylic paints, this will work with acrylic paints. If you've got poster paints, it'll work with poster. If you've got crayons, it'll work with crayons. If you have got, ooh, I like it when it touches. If you've got, I don't know, oil pastels, you can do it with oil pastels, chalk pastels. You know, pretty much any media you've got. If all you've got are pencils, you know, handy, you can do this with pencils, and you can turn your pencil different ways to make a longer line or a thinner line, or all kinds of things and fun to be had. I feel like I need another little bit of green here, I don't know why. But a nice thick bit of green there. And then I'm going to go for one of these. And one of these. And one of these, nice and close. And I think I'm going to end with, I might end with the same blue I started with actually. Just so you can see that's kind of done, but it's still wet. You have to wait until it's completely dry to take the tape off. I am going to use my heat gun to cheat. I think you can probably use a hairdryer, or you could be patient. Now, if I blow too much, these are going to blow everywhere, so I'm going to be a bit careful with those. And just, oh, sorry. I'm going to be, these are still quite wet, so I'm going to be a bit careful with going up to them when I'm doing the heat gunning, just to make sure I don't blow them everywhere. I'll have my sponge just in case. So that is dry now. If when the heat gun's kind of dissipated a little bit, if you put your hand to it and it doesn't feel cool to the touch, it's dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the tape. Now when you're removing the tape, if you keep it nice and close here and pull, it should come off. What I find is that if I give it a little heat from the heat gun, it helps that. So I'm going to do that now and take off all my little bits. Now you can see there that it took a bit of paper off, and I heated it so much to help it not do it anywhere else that that bit has got a bit crumpled, so I can't really use that bit again. So last one. This one is looking like it's going to be a little bit trickier for me. You can see when I pulled it from the bottom, I accidentally pulled this bit of paper off, so I'm putting my finger on it and holding it so I can get it. And then you can actually fix these if you want to, and I kind of want to. So I'm just going to grab a glue stick and I'm going to pop some glue onto the back of this paper as carefully as I can, so that there's enough glue so that it will stick, and the same with the bit that's kind of this way. And then I'm going to get it on as best I can, just so that I've got that bottom stripe. Here we go. Won't be perfectly perfect, but I'm happy enough with that. And it's not about being perfectly perfect, it's about the process of doing it, and I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I really like doing those, they're quite fun. And I've got another page that is finished from my heap. So I've actually got another one here that's done on all the other sides. So I'm actually going to set that up, and I shall see how much time I end up having and whether I can do it. But I'm going to just create a border first. And I'm using up some of the pieces of tape that I used before that I can. This one has stuck to lots of paper, so there's going to be bits where it won't stick. So I can't reuse that one. I tend to try and reuse them if I can. I'm using this because my masking tape is really super sticky masking tape, and I've torn a lot on the last one, so I've kind of come back to this tape to use for now until I can get some low tack masking tape. Okay, so I've got my kind of border on. I've still got paint left as well, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tape this kind of in place again, just a little bit, don't need a lot, bit top and bottom will be fab, so that I don't get paint splatters on the other page. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I think I'm going to do the first line at the top with this brush, and then I'm going to swap to a littler brush to see how that is. So wet my brush, dry it off on my little tea towel, it's just here, and then pick a colour, and this time I'm going to start with this green gold. What colours do you find kind of a calming colours for you? What do the different colours mean? It's an interesting little thought, isn't it? So I've done that one. I'm going to swap now to this, which is a number 1. It's kind of like 2 sizes down. Take off the excess water and pick up this lovely deep blue and see what can I get just pulling it. Beautiful and thin. Pick up this next one. What if I press down? How fat a line can I create? Does the paint last all the way? It does, gets paler, but it does last. What about this one if I do it with that one? Does the paint last all the way? Yep, it does. And then this one, if I try and do a really thin one, how thin can I make it? Is it easy to do them quick or slow? A little bit jumping. I don't know. Oh, I'll mix some green in with that, that's fun. I draw or paint 2 right next to each other so they touch. I do 3. Oh, interesting. I can get quite a thick one. Quite a lot of paint there as well. And I'm just enjoying drawing the lines, feeling how it feels when I take the brush across the page, seeing how the colours look next to each other, letting them touch sometimes. Seeing how close I can get, making a thin line and then making a thick one. I've got totally new green popping up there. Doing a series of thin lines. Sometimes they touch and that's okay, and changing the colour but not washing my brush. What's happening with the colours in my palette? How are they changing? using a smaller brush means that I'm getting in more lines. You might have noticed that I'm actually moving my whole arm, so it's like that rather than moving my wrist. I'm keeping my wrist and my hand kind of in that same position and moving kind of my shoulder, my shoulder or my elbow, my shoulder, to get the line more. You might be doing it differently, you know. Mine's kind of bring it like I'm making chicken wings with my arms, but really slowly, coming out to the side. And that's helping me to get a fluid kind of pulling motion that's helping me to create the kind of lines that I'm wanting to. Love the way that green gold splashed into that line, and it's beautiful. So a little bit of kind of deliberate touching for some of them now, because I like how it looks. I'm going to go over that one to try and get some more paint so that I can put a green gold next to it and let it touch just in some places on purpose, and just put another green gold underneath. I feel like that would be fun to do with this one as well, to see what would happen. Right, add a bit more paint so it's a bit wetter all the way along. And do that a third time. And then maybe pop. What if I put this one next to it? What happens? Does anything happen? Do they get a little bit of interest happening? Maybe. What if I put that green next to it? Almost on top. See how that's happening. And then just pull a straighter line underneath. Try not to make them too wiggly, but I don't mind that they wiggle. And I don't mind that they touch. It's quite fun when they touch. But going back to having some that are separate now, I'm getting towards the bottom. And a nice kind of fairly thick line at the bottom, so that I'm going to get a nice edge. Making sure I've got into the corners. And literally my breathing feels different. So that's after 2 of these kind of exercises. I'm going to dry this now and take the tape off like I did before. And then I think I'm kind of feeling much more ready to face the day. Oh, I made a little bit of a mess that time because I forgot to take the sellotape off that was holding the paper on. So I'm not sure what I can salvage from this to reuse. Not a lot, I don't think. But I did get one bit that I can reuse. So, and there we go. Another one. So that's 2 of these lovely pages done. And you can see the difference that the smaller brush makes. So trying it out with 2 different brushes was really worth doing. Love the way I've let some of these lines touch here. That makes it really quite cool. I like having that solid bottom line, top and bottom, and it's quite fun having it in the same colour too. It seems to bring it together. So now I can breathe in a way that I probably couldn't a little bit ago before I did art. So I am going to go and get on with my day and all of the stuff that needs to be done. The cooking, cleaning, the academic work with the boys, the dogs. I have lots of washing that is drying on the radiators at the moment, so that will need putting away. And I am going to probably do some journaling later, but what I really needed this morning was just something calm and easy and mindful, and that is what I've just created for myself. I hope that if you get chance, or more that you make chance for you to do something that helps you to feel mindful and calmer, whatever that may be. I know for my husband sometimes it's cooking, for some people it's knitting, for some people it is sewing, embroidery, building, gardening, playing music, whatever it is. I think most of them have creating within them. If you think about cooking, you're creating food. If you think about gardening, you're creating that kind of design with plants, or you're creating space for plants to grow. And so I think it's really important and really helpful to incorporate that into our lives. So if you're kind of finding that everything is really difficult and you feel like you don't have time, I really do understand that. But even if you just have 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you could have a go at this exercise or something else that you like, and just give yourself that little bit of time. Because if you can give yourself that, you will be better able to help the people that are around you and to support the people that need support from you. And looking after you is really, really important. So take care, and I will hopefully see you all really, really soon.